Hi and welcome back to Prepper Pennies. I'm glad you stopped by. Today I am posting this video as part of the third installment of the whole grain series that I have been writing. I had readers contact me with specific questions about how to store grains and how to buy their own grains. As many of you know, I don't profess to be an expert in all things prepping, but what I am doing here on this blog is sharing what I have learned as I journey through this transition in my life to attain as much self-reliance as I can gain for me and my family. And what I will be showing you in this video is how I personally buy, store, and package my grains. What I will show you is what works well for me and my family. I hope some of what I have learned and share will help you move ahead in your own preparations. But even so, I encourage you to do what I have done for the past several years. Search the internet and YouTube for others who offer their own advice and expertise as I am doing. Glean as much valuable information as you can and make a plan for your long-term food storage goals. Now, having said all this, let's get started and let me show you my own setup. I'll start with the number 10 cans. When I first started buying grains for my long-term storage, I bought these cans of grains. The main reason was that I simply didn't know much about grains. I didn't know what type of grains that I needed or wanted. I didn't even know how much grain I needed to store. So I punted. I wanted to get grains in my storage because I had some sense of urgency, but I didn't quite know what I was doing. So I started buying these number 10 cans of the white and red wheat, rice, oats, and beans. Those are kind of the staples for just about every prepper. But all the while, I began to really dig in and do some research and started learning as much as I could about grains. Eventually, I began to venture into buying large quantities and packaging them myself, but that was not until a while later. I still do purchase a lot of my grains, not a majority of it, but a significant amount in number 10 cans. I do this by watching when there are sales, and I buy them when they are marked down. They are so convenient. The size is perfect to handle. I can pull a number 10 can size out and put it in my pantry and grind my own flour, which I do quite often. And there is no repackaging or work that you need to put into them, and they are safely packaged commercially, and they last 25 years as long as you store them properly. Here is another way that I purchase some of my grains that are commercially packaged. This has the same advantage as the number 10 can in that you simply buy it and store it. No additional work is needed. They are packaged in nice buckets with gamma lids, which I will show you a little bit later on in this video. They're lined with mylar and protected with oxygen absorbers. This is a 35-pound bucket of amaranth. I love and use amaranth, more so than even wheat. So when it went on sale a few months ago, I jumped at the opportunity to buy it. Like everyone else, I look for ways to save time wherever I can, and this is just one of those ways. So watch for sales in these large buckets. It's not too often, but when they are marked down, they are well worth buying. Now we will get started, and I will show you just how I package my grains for the long-term storage. This is where we start out with our bucket. I personally use the 3.5 gallon or 5 gallon buckets, which I get for either free usually, or sometimes I will pay up to $1 for a bucket. And the way I do this is I go to my neighborhood deli, bakery, or grocery store, and they will usually just give you the buckets. You have to hit them at the right time, establish a relationship, and then they will begin to start setting them aside for you, but otherwise you're going to pay $4 or $5 at your hardware stores and so forth. So it's good to establish a relationship with your local market so that you can get them for free. The next decision that you will make are the types of lid that you will use. Now there are just a couple choices here. The white lid is just a simple one-piece unit. It has a rubber ring on the underneath side, and the blue lid is a gamma lid. I personally go with the gamma lid, and that is because they are easier to access. That blue ring is stationary. You pound this onto your bucket, and then you can screw and unscrew that solid piece onto your bucket. So it is easier to access the content of your bucket without having to tear off and open up that bucket, exposing air and oxygen to the content. See here, you can see that black rubber ring. And the white lid will require this tool, which is much like a bottle opener. And I will show you in this little video clip exactly how this works. You take this opener and put it under that lip, and you simply pop it up. Whereas the gamma lid, as you can see, you simply unscrew it and you have access to the content of your bucket. We're going to start out with a few products, one of which are your oxygen absorbers. Now, once I open the vacuum sealed bag that they came in when I ordered them, I transfer them immediately into a mason jar where I can keep them airtight. You'll see under this bag of cornmeal is a vacuum seal bag. That's what I'm going to ultimately put this cornmeal in. And here we're just going to go through the process. I've already put a seal in the bottom of this bag, and I'm going to transfer the cornmeal into the bag. And I'm sorry it's so fundamental, but I'm just going to be showing you and walking you through the process that I go through when I prepare any of my grains or any of my dried food into my long-term storage. So there, I've emptied that into my food saver bag, and for this amount, which I don't know, what is that, maybe 2 quarts, half a gallon, I will put one of the 100cc oxygen absorbers inside the vacuum seal bag. That will keep the moisture out and keep that cornmeal nice and dry. And then I will put the vacuum seal on that particular bag. And aren't you glad I do voiceover on this so you don't have to hear that awful vacuum? It is loud. But the Food Saver, it's what I happen to own. I'm not advocating any particular brand, but the Food Saver does a really good job. And you will see here how hard this cornmeal becomes because all the air is out. It is just as hard as a brick. And that's what you want. You want all the air out, and that oxygen absorber in there will ensure that the air stays out and your grains or whatever you have in there will stay fresh. And yes, that is a darned fly that will not leave me alone today. Here is the Mylar bag, and it is a 1-gallon bag, and that's the reason I keep a little less than a gallon in my Food Saver bag, because it has to fit into the 1 gallon. And here I will Now place the less than 1 gallon of food into the Mylar bag. So remember, I have the 100cc oxygen absorber inside the Food Saver bag, and here I'm going to put 2 more 100cc oxygen absorbers inside the Mylar bag. Now that is just another layer of protection because we want this to last for quite some time. So there I have that layer done. Now we're at the stage where we need to seal that Mylar bag. And while some people use an iron that you iron clothes with, I have found that a straight iron that you flat iron your hair with works really well. At least it does for me. So what you want to do here is you want to get that fold in there on the Mylar bag, and you can see that that flat iron goes more than halfway across that bag, but I take it about halfway across, and I know that it's getting a nice heat seal when the very top of those flaps start kind of curling away from each other. I know that that is in there melting that seal together. And I just hold it tightly for a minute or so and flip it around, and you can see how that is holding together on the side I just did. You want to make sure you don't have any kinks in there, any folds, and you just hold it, run it across, and work it until you have a nice solid seal. This flat iron will give you about almost a half-inch seal, so it's substantial and very solid. I'm very pleased with how this works. And there you go. You can see that nice seal on there. No air is going to get in that. You'll want to make sure that you clearly label, date, and identify what you have in your Mylar bag before you put them into your container, whatever you decide to use, and you are good to go. You have just really safely put together whatever grain or even dehydrated food that you have decided to store, and that's a go, friend. I allow my newly packaged grains to set out for at least 24 to 48 hours to ensure that the seal stays intact and there is no failure. Then it's ready to pack into my buckets. I add at least 2 of my 2000cc oxygen absorbers, label the bucket, and place it in my long-term storage. And those are the ways that I have started gathering and storing my long-term grains. I hope this has been helpful, and I encourage you again to look at YouTube, find some channels on preppers that are doing the same thing, and on other blogs. And as always, friends, thank you for stopping by. God bless, and happy prepping.